Israel is winning control of Khan Yunis in the heart of Gaza and have now killed or captured over half of Hamas's fighting force. Also, amid truce talks, Israel strikes the Iranian airport in Lebanon, possibly escalating that situation. This is going to be a packed out show, so hold on. I'm Ben, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, if you have not already, don't hesitate to subscribe to our YouTube channel here on YouTube and follow us on other social media platforms as well. Contrary to what you're hearing on the internet, the IDF is actually slowly winning in Gaza. They've been advancing on Khan Yunis over the last several weeks, I believe, and are actually making tremendous progress in Khan Yunis. This is the Hamas stronghold in southern Gaza. Yahya Sinwar, the Hamas commander responsible for October 7th, is believed to be hiding in Khan Yunis, probably in a tunnel underneath, probably surrounded by hostages for his protection. This last weekend, the IDF really upped the assault and have been making tremendous progress there. We'll get into a little bit more of that in just a second, but Bibi visited the border on Tu B'Shvat this week, and which is the new year for planting trees in Israel. And he made a speech to some of the troops down at the border. He said, Hamas came to uproot us. We will uproot them. Hamas came to wipe us out. We will wipe them out. There's no alternative to deepening our roots. There's no substitute for total victory over our enemies. Tremendous stuff there. He's absolutely correct. There is no substitute for total victory over Hamas. We cannot allow the world to impose a ceasefire on Israel, setting Israel up for this to happen all over again with Hamas. Don't forget that if a ceasefire is put in place between Israel and Hamas, all it's doing is giving Hamas time to rearm, to catch their breath, and attack Israel at their greatest convenience again and slaughter Jewish civilians. This video shows a central Hamas tunnel under a residential neighborhood in Khan Yunis, right next to two schools captured by the IDF. And then this tunnel that was also captured by the IDF led them to the largest rocket manufacturing lathe discovered in southern Gaza so far. The IDF also conducted an operation in one of the major terrorist grounds for Hamas operations in northern Gaza. They dismantled an anti-aircraft missile launch site ready to launch a missile, a tunnel shaft connected to a 2-kilometer-long offensive tunnel, a faculty for training and underground tunnels, a simulator for mortar and weapons fire against IDF soldiers, a swimming pool where terrorists trained for naval raids, a training obstacle course, and offices belonging to commanders of the post. They also found this other tunnel where they found evidence that hostages were actually held there once again. They said that it was used to hold about 20 hostages at different times, was about 830 meters long and 20 meters deep, somewhere in the realm of half a mile long, 65 feet-ish deep. That's crazy. These tunnels are wild. And you see what the IDF is up against in this war, how difficult it is to navigate these tunnels to take out the Hamas terrorists that are inside of them. So far in the war, according to a report that just came out this week, about 60% of Hamas forces are out of action. About 9,000 terrorists have been killed, about 8,000 more have been wounded, and about 2,300 have been captured. There's some debate as to the fighting capacity of Hamas from before the war, but the accepted number, the kind of understood number, is, according to that, about 50 to 60% of Hamas forces have been put out of action. That's compared to, on the IDF side, their losses are about 220 killed so far, I believe. There's another one, sadly, that was just added to that number today, so about 220, which is tragic on an emotional front for them and for their families. Also, like us personally, I know a couple of families, personally that lost relatives, and so it's tragic on that front. But on a purely statistical, analytical side, These numbers are actually really good, especially for the type of fighting that's happening in Gaza. This is not, this is not Civil War style where you're comparing the might of the IDF to, the low technology of Hamas and they line up in a field and shoot at each other. This is guerrilla urban warfare. Hamas is hiding behind civilians using the terrain of Gaza that they know really well, the tunnels, the buildings, the skyscrapers, everything to their advantage. So you think that the playing field would be equalized here, but the IDF have strongly prepared for just such a situation with their urban warfare combat training with some of the special forces units that are going into Gaza. And you see this paying off here. 220 IDF killed to 9,000 Hamas so far. Those numbers are really good from an analytical perspective. I don't even know if I can make this comparison because I'm not terribly well versed on this, but according to a government website that I found, in the Afghanistan war, with the U.S. and their allies and contractors lost about 7,000 troops in the war. And that's compared to about 70,000 Afghan army and police killed. So we're talking about a 1-to-7 ratio between allied troops and allied soldiers and Afghan soldiers and police, which seems like a fairly good number for that type of war. Israel so far, if you count in the 220 to 9,000 Hamas terrorists, even in a full-out urban war, Hamas hiding behind civilians type of situation, a 1-to-41 ratio as compared to the U.S. and the Afghanistan war, 1-to-7 ratio. Israel's doing pretty well here. I really think they are in this war. They're taking their time. This is why they're going slow, because they're trying to preserve life on the IDF side, on the Israeli soldier side, and also civilian lives of Gazans inside of Gaza. They're taking their time, and they're doing this right, and the fruit of that is paying off. 50 to 60% of Hamas has been neutralized. A good portion of real estate in Gaza has been, Israel has obtained control over, and they have lost, tragically, it's awful on a personal front, but not terrible on a national front, 220 soldiers in this war. And it's a war. It's a real war. A lot of people forget that this is war and what war is actually like. In a minute, we're going to get to the northern front with a possible escalation with Hezbollah. But first, would you like to have a better understanding of the Book of Psalms and its beautiful original language? Meet Israel 365's The Israel Bible Book of Psalms Pray Like David edition. Imagine having the sacred Book of Psalms in both Hebrew and English, complemented by a rich feature, a verse-by-verse English transliteration. A transliteration helps you decipher Hebrew words in English, enabling you to understand every Hebrew word in the Book of Psalms. But there's an additional layer of richness. The English translation in the Pray Like David edition closely mirrors the accuracy of the original text of Psalms. It stands as a very authentic and readable English version of King David's prayers. Immersing yourself in the Book of Psalms offers solace and strength to your heart and soul, especially when you dive into David's original words in Hebrew. For a limited time, our friends at Israel 365 are offering a generous discount on the Israel Bible Book of Psalms, bringing your copy to just $24.99. That's nearly 40% off the original price of $39.99. Click the link in the description below to order your copy today and become part of this prayerful journey. So, Israeli fighter jets just completed a series of strikes in Lebanon on targets inside of Lebanon, and this time they actually hit an Iranian airbase and a military compound just 20 kilometers off Israel's border. Last September, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant showed photos of that airbase taken from Israel, and you can actually see Iranian flags flying on the airbase. Everyone knows that both Hamas and Hezbollah are proxies for Iran, but it doesn't get any more blatant than that Iran actually has the gall to openly fly their flags on this airbase, and Israel just sent a very strong warning to Iran by actually bombing that base. It's a message to Hezbollah and also to Iran that the situation on Israel's northern border is untenable. Hezbollah, according to international law, is supposed to be off Israel's border by several kilometers, creating a buffer zone between Lebanon and Israel. They've not followed that. They're right smack up on Israel's border. And not only that, maintaining a constant state of aggression with Israel, making the situation untenable for Israel's civilians that live on the northern border. About 80,000, what was the number, 60, 80,000 of Israeli civilians from border cities on Hezbollah's border have been evacuated south, are living in hotels, relatives' homes, and more central Israel. This cannot continue. Israel sent a very clear message to Hezbollah and Iran that this cannot continue, that Israel will be forced to take some form of action if diplomacy does not prevail, and they will have to move Hezbollah off that border one way or the other. Of course, I think Israel's going to have to wait if they do use force, and Hezbollah, they might have to wait until the situation in Gaza is more under control. Maybe not. Maybe they will. I'm sure they'll I'm sure they will find the best time to make that happen in their terms, hopefully in their terms, and not in the terms of Iran and Hezbollah. Guys, don't forget to check out Israel 365's Book of Psalms, Pray Like David edition. I'll put a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe and get this conversation going down below. I love interacting with you down in the comments when I can. If you have questions, drop them down there. I'll try to respond as soon as possible. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.